I thank you very much for tuning into That Will Never Work podcast. What if the biggest barrier in your business isn't the market, but it's the story that you've accepted about yourself? See, today's guest, Carol Tice, shares how she overcame ageism, fear of launching new ventures, and stubborn revenue plateaus, and why breaking through starts with breaking internal limits first. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
I just want y'all to know we're going to have some fun on this show. So, Carol, she changes or challenges the belief that momentum belongs to the young, fearless, or already successful. And her story proves that growth is available at every stage in life if you're willing to confront the roadblocks. And so, Carol, I thank you very much for coming on to the show. When you hit those moments of ageism, fear, or maybe even stalled revenue, what belief about yourself had to change before your business could?
Well, I came out of journalism,
Hmm.
just to give you a background, and I had never sold anything to anyone. I was just writing my articles and filing them. And, when you're a journalist and on staff at a paper, like you kind of think of the sales department as the dark side of the force. Like, they are evil and we are doing good. And selling is so dirty. And so I had to first, work through all of that and go, oh, I
Hmm.
could sell things to people, and had to find a way to sell that I felt comfortable with.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people in my space, which my first community was for freelance writers, a lot of sort of the freelance writing coaches out there came out of marketing writing, out of
Hmm.
copywriting. And so they were like natural sales people.
Hmm.
And also, yeah, I'm thinking I was like maybe 45 starting this first business. Um, and what happened was I started a blog. That felt
Hmm.
safe enough at writing. I know how to do that. And, then I started looking for ways to monetize it.
Hmm.
And I joined a community for bloggers I was like, I want to learn about more about blogging. And I loved it. Right away, I was like, this is amazing. And there's nothing like this for kind of how to run your freelance writing business.
Right.
And so I was lucky to be a business reporter, and I had that sort of business discipline, what are your costs? How are you doing marketing? And I learned that most freelance writers were following their muse, writing for whoever asked them, like there was no business discipline at all. So there was this missing piece that I could bring to them of like, let's get serious about you making a real living at this and
Hmm.
not, $5 an article off Upwork or whatever.
Mm.
And so I did that for several years and, tried putting ads on and this and that. But this idea that there should be a community was just sort of in the back of my head. But the hurdle for me was tech, even more than
Mm.
selling, because I'm a completely non-technical person. And I knew it was back then, this is like 2010,
Mm.
it was much more technically difficult to create a community platform. You had to hand build it and make plugins talk to each other, and it was very complex, and I knew
Mhm.
I didn't have that skill.
Mm.
But I went to an online business conference and got all
Okay.
fired up of like, I got to just do this. And I guess what helped me get over it was like I just set a 90-day limit. I was like, "We're
Mm.
putting this up. We're just gonna get this out there before I chicken out, before I freak out, before I decided I can't do it. We're just gonna throw this sucker up there." I had maybe 700 blog subscribers or something,
Mm.
and I did a survey of them. Do you want a community? What should be in it? And I just built what they told me they needed and priced it around what they said they thought would they'd pay. And so this building in public of talking to people and saying, "Oh, do you want this? How would it be?" What do you think of this name for it? Just
Mm-hmm.
doing all of the thinking out loud with my audience means that then your sales pitch is that thing we've been talking about.
Right.
It's here now and you can join it. I made it. That thing you
Mm.
told me to. So it's much less, grinding people on 2-hour sales webinars. That was just
Yeah.
never going to be me. And maybe I would have made a lot more money if I was one of these hardcore marketing people. But, I made enough. I'm living the life I want to live. It gave my
Right.
family a great life. We had a 5-bedroom house on Lake Washington in Seattle, and I kind of I learned to sell coming from a place of just, I have something I think could be helpful to you. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
this is something you need?
Mm.
Just, um, if you don't have this, will you not be able to make a life change that you want to make? Just, I don't know, almost like a conversation
Yeah.
with people just about the realities I knew they were facing in the marketplace.
Mm.
And like I was able to get really comfortable with that. And I
Nice.
just, I gave away a lot of free things. All the classes we
Hmm.
held in this first community, Freelance Writers Den, like the first module would be free. Just come check it out. Oh, do you want to keep going in this class? And
Mm-hmm.
sign up. Just I'm kind of a soft sell kind of a person. And I'm here to say you don't have to be selling 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be selly, 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 sell. I just rejected that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that my audience loved that about me,
Nice.
and that I was giving them something that it really wasn't out in the marketplace so much,
Mm.
of like, how do you actually get a good client? How do you
Mm-hmm.
negotiate a raise? How do you talk to them? How do you close and get them to sign up with you? Just, I had something of value.
And sometimes we don't believe that we do, and because some of the things that you had mentioned, like you already had some people already lined up that were already following you, and sometimes we don't think that's also valuable. So, even when we think about what we have, our 9 to 5, our cushy house, that's value, because of what society put pressure on that as well. And so I think there are some things that you're mentioning that sometimes that are our roadblocks and our barriers, and you're saying, hey, let's hurry up. Like even when you say something about technology, hey, you know what? Maurice, I'm not the best tech person. I don't know tech that well. And especially in that particular time, like you said, it might have been a little harder. You had to learn a little bit more, dive in a little harder. So even that's a barrier as well because we get uh, intimidated by technology, and so there's a lot of different pieces that you're referring to when it comes to this.
Technology has so makes me cry. Yeah, just I'm so bad at it. But you can hire people to do
Mm,
the parts of a business that you do not excel at, and you should,
hmm.
because it's not the best use of your time. You should be doing the things only you can do?
But even with that, sometimes again we not because it's a passion of ours, right? And we don't always want to let go in that situation. Like you said, you were already a journalist, so you doing blogging that comes off as if that is your passion. You're used to doing that. Would you even entrust someone to write for you? Because it is yours. And sometimes we get so caught up in, I'm just using it as an example, but sometimes we just get so caught up that it's ours that we don't want to let go just a teensy little bit.
Yeah, initially all the content was me, but we ended up having a lot of guest posting,
Mm,
actually. So,
really?
yeah, well, and this ties into my sort of theme of life these days, which is building a saleable asset. If it's
Mm-hmm.
all you, it's hard to sell it at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the rainbow. So and I know, Maurice, you said your people are just starting out, but I built a course called Built to Sell
Mm-hmm.
because I wished I had thought more about the saleability of what I was building at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having to move a lot of things around the board at the end to sell it. I had to change a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and I should have been thinking about it from the very beginning.
But see, that's things that we're not taught. We don't talk about very much. We're not always taught about the exit, quote unquote. We need to be is ours again, ownership, that type of thing, but not what the long term is. And even like over the weekend, I had just finished talking to a client. And I had asked them, when do you plan on coming out of your business, right? And once you come out, do you really have the resources to maintain your lifestyle from 65 to 90? What does that cost? What does that look like? So are you looking for right now? Are you looking for legacy? Or are you looking for exit? Like, which way you're trying to go? And I think those are the type of things, as you're stating, we don't plan for. That way, are we planning for our business to run without us? We can still be the head,
And
but do we empowering those other individuals?
maybe being not a 20-something entrepreneur and having covered business and covered M&A,
Mm-hmm.
covered mergers and acquisitions, maybe I had a little more in the back of my head of like, is this an asset that I'm building that,
Ah,
someone else could find valuable?
right.
And this is the mission I'm on, is that like every coach, we're in an era of the lifestyle influencer person.
Right.
It's all about your personal brand, and yes, you should have a strong personal brand, but are you your company? Every
Mm-hmm.
time I go to a coach's website and it's named theirname.com, I just sort of cry.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a saleable business. You are the business. You've just created a job for yourself.
Right.
You can never, there is no exit. You just close the doors,
Mm.
at the end, and you get nothing, and your retirement account does not get a big, a nice chunk of change that goes
Right.
in there to enable that whole 60 to 90 kind of time frame you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe starting older, put that a little bit more
In the
in my
forefront.
mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, now my new community is on school, my
Mm-hmm.
second community, and recently I came across a conversation, and people were saying, is your face on like the header of your, are you the brand?
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone was saying, yeah, absolutely, I'm putting my face on. And I was like, my face on it ain't on there. Nope. um, because yeah, the especially when you're building a community
Right.
business, this is the magic of community, is that you are not the business.
Mm-hmm.
The community,
Mm-hmm.
there's this element of the community supporting each other, connecting with each other, suggesting things, I've already had someone present in my new community on a topic I didn't know about,
Mm.
about how to do best practices for like Instagram ads, so something I didn't do.
Right.
And so they're all adding value to it. And when you want to create a course or something, you ask them, oh, I got 3 ideas for courses here. Which is the one you want the most? You're just building naturally, guided by the community, what is needed.
Right.
And all of these things you're building are products, are assets of the business. And so, over a decade, we just created this huge library of valuable information.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is still out there helping people. And that's the other thing you talked a little bit about, legacy,
Mm-hmm.
is like, can this live on after you? You're having an impact, you're
Right.
showing up and you're having an impact, but could you keep having an impact when you are no longer showing up?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
what get people on LinkedIn today. I sold 5 years ago, and they're like, I'm so excited to be in the den, and I'm so happy that these courses are great, and I'm like, I'm glad it's still helping you, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't got to do nothing. I'm out. Um, just that's a very powerful thing to know that
Mm-hmm.
that is just going on helping people. I
Mm-hmm.
I find that very gratifying, very uplifting.
Yeah, but I think there's some things in there where are we humble enough and to let that ego go, because, there feels some type of pride. Hey, this is Maurice Chisholm, coaching and all that type of things. Um, but as you're stating, are we having other coaches? Are we coaching other coaches? Are we empowering these other people? But does that really help our ego? Because we want to be the one that's on stage. We want to be, that's had the spotlight on us. So how do we continue to stay humble in that space? Or even for yourself, how do you stay humble to say, you know what? I could let everybody else shine and still get the spotlight later on. Because you talk about right now, hey, I could look 5 years later, I'm still getting the spotlight. It's just that I don't need to have it on me 24/7. So how were you able to be a little bit more humble and less egotistical in those situations?
Well, I don't know. It's like it wasn't an ego trip to me. It was
Mm-hmm.
more of like a passion project gone mad. I didn't know how successful it would be.
Mm-hmm.
My dream originally, I think, is was 500 members. Like
Mm-hmm.
that would solve all my life problems financially. Of course, I didn't know what it was going to cost to run the back end when I thought that.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold at 1,500 members.
Mm.
It was more that I wanted all of my members to succeed. It was like I had 1,500 children,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I just cared about what was happening to them, and that's the part for me that was hard to walk away from, of, like, wanting to make them successful and
Mm.
wanting those success stories, and, to me, when I help someone else m have the career they want, make the money they want, it's, like, better than if I did it myself. It's
Right.
just those of us who coach, that's helping others be their best. It's like it's so wonderful. It feels
Mhm.
so good to feel like you're enabling that.
Mhm.
And but when you're a coach, you're a coach. When you run a community, you might do some coaching, but you're really mostly a convener is
Mhm.
your role. You are helping people find accountability buddies. You are bringing in other experts on things you don't know because you don't know all the things.
Right.
And that's more the role, so I guess you have to think about whether you dig that role, whether you like that sort of just being the catalyst
Mhm.
for, um, helping people rather than I am personally gonna sit one-on-one with you and, each of you and work with you, and it's
Mhm.
about me working with you.
Mm.
It's a different dynamic, but
Right.
it's the one that creates a lot of success, and I did one-on-one coaching,
Mhm.
and then I did small group coaching, and I got some successes, but it wasn't as repeatable and reliable as I wanted.
Mm.
And then I did small group, and I saw that was more effective. The 10 of them had each other to talk to. And that was what really paved the way to me going, yeah, it's community. I'm
Mhm.
in one for blogging. I see where this goes.
Right.
So much more effective and powerful. The more people you convene that can support each other, you know. So I think it's a mindset shift.
Right.
And I guess I was never a big like, oh, I need to be, I don't know, a star of this. Because like I was already kind of an old lady with 3 young kids, and we were older parents, and
Mhm.
there was a lot going on in my life, and I don't know. It wasn't an ego trip to me really.
Mm. Mhm.
It was more a mission. It was very like I was like on a crusade against
Mhm.
writer scams and for fair writer pay, and I
Mm.
wanted to really change my whole industry, and you can't do that coaching people one to one.
Mm.
You'll never reach enough people. You're not going to coach 1,500 people in a
Right.
year, one on one.
Right.
I think we had like 14,000 people or something come through the den. That was what I
Wow.
was looking for, was
Wow.
that chance to have a broader impact. So it kind of depends on
Mhm.
what you're after in life.
Right. And so I'm gonna only speak upon my own experiences. That group, or like you said, larger group community space. For me, it's a lot more satisfying because, like you said, yes, you could feel like you could be the smartest person in the room, but you really don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You may start off, like you said, helping to facilitate the conversation, but you don't know everyone else's background, what their life experiences have been, which can help and resonate with someone else. And so, yes, I am West Philadelphia, born and raised, that whole Fresh Prince vibe, right? And so my space in Philadelphia may not resonate with someone else who, and now my grandmother, I'm going to give you a comparison. My grandmother was born and raised in South Carolina. So with me being in West Philly and my grandmother growing up in South Carolina, there's two totally different communities, two different ways of how people have lived. And yes, we might be on the same trajectory or same idea. Hey, we want to take care of our families, but the way we're going to do it is different. And so I think that space of group can really help each other to see the other side of the aisle, pun intended, so that way we can grow together and build a stronger community.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is there are things that I am kind of the smartest person in the room
Hmm.
for
Right.
in my communities, but I guess the lack of ego is recognizing when you don't know something and
Hmm.
just saying, "Hey, I'm not an expert in this. Like, who knows someone that I should bring on about this?"
Right.
You know,
Yeah. So I think that's some of the things that we just because as you stated, I don't know everything. I know some things. I know a few things, and what I want to provide to my community or my group, yeah, I'm going to give you what I have. But I think there are some things that I've also learned because for me, I'm gonna be honest. I've had to learn how to listen a lot better, because. But again, that was
for
just
sure.
the environment that I grew up in, where hey, you just kind of listen to respond, not in the right, but not actively listening, and so that's one of the things I've learned over the years, and that's helped me to be such a good podcaster, is just to be able to listen to what people have to say and understand how to continue to move the conversation forward. So those are some things that I know I personally had to learn, just being in those groups and moving forward.
What I loved about it was that I didn't have to figure out what to do next.
Hmm.
Like, people are always, like, asking me that. They're like, "Should I do this or this?" And I'm like, "I don't know the answer. Your people know the answer.
Right,
Have you asked your people this question? They're the ones who know the right answer.
right.
If you're here to serve your people, I mean, some people are here to do what they feel like doing. And, good luck selling that, because you've created it in a vacuum and it's all about you. And sometimes it works out, but a
Right.
lot of times it doesn't
Hmm.
because you have not tuned into, like you say, doing that deep listening of like, what are people needing from me? What is
Right.
it that I have that isn't commonly out there? A
Hmm.
million other people don't have it that I could help them with.
Right. And and so for myself, it was I started this 14 years ago. And so this has been a true journey and I'm always learning something. Always learning. Like you said, whether or not it's technology, uh, or even how people want to get to their desired outcome is not always the same path 100% of the time. Similar, but not the same. So there are some things that I've had to learn myself. And I appreciate you sharing your story with that because again, those things are rare, of just showing how transitioning from one place to another, understanding I may not know certain genres or business practices or whatever it is, so let me find out what the feedback might be, because that's the other thing too. Sometimes we don't like that feedback loop to hear, hey, you don't know everything, so sometimes that could be a shot as well. So I thank you very much for sharing those things with us today.
Yeah, so many people go off and build in a vacuum. I'm going to
Hmm.
do an online business. And then they're like, Carol, can you tell me why no one is joining my community? And I'm like, well, who did you ask about what
Hmm.
should be in it? And then, oh, I just knew I knew how to lose weight. So I
Right.
built a site about how to lose weight, but yeah, they were just taking a stab in the dark.
Hmm.
Just your success odds are a lot better if you're building in public, talking to people, and that's another form of kind of soft selling marketing. Is you're like, what do you think of this logo? Do you like these
Right.
brand colors? These are all marketing, but
Right.
they're very low key and
Hmm.
conversational. I call this the pre-marketing cycle.
Hmm.
The like most comments I ever got because I have a writer community is should it be freelance writers den with no apostrophe or apostrophe s writers or s apostrophe
Hmm.
writers?
Hmm.
100 plus
Hmm.
comments because writers care about this trivia like you can't believe. The correct answer is headlines do not have to be grammatical and URLs don't have apostrophes, therefore no apostrophe.
Nice.
But that engaged so many people and made them aware of the fact that, hey, I'm building this thing without me having to like sell. I
Mm.
love doing that stuff. And actually, I'm redoing my website for my other business over on my other planet. I ghostwrite books
Okay.
in my free time. And I'm redoing my writer websites. And I'm
Nice.
going to be like, hey, what do you think of this? What about that on there? And of course, what I'm really just doing is signaling that I'm looking for an author to work with. Um,
Okay.
and getting that out there, the idea that that's something I do,
Nice. Nice. Listen, people are out there. They're wondering, Carol, how can I get into contact with you? Because you know what, I'm looking for a community. I'm looking for, especially in this place of writing and blogging and things like that. Where can they find you and talk to you about stuff like that?
Well, as I said, Freelance Writers Den is still around, but I'm not there. I am over teaching people how to build communities
Hmm.
at Community Growth Academy on School.
Nice.
So that is where you can look me up. You can get a free case study, all chapter and verse about how I built and sold Freelance Writers Den and other useful freebies. And it actually has a free level. You can join for free and start filling out a worksheet I'll look at about whether what are all your community ideas? What's the best one? Where does it intersect with money and opportunity in the marketplace? What else is out there like that?
Hmm.
How will you be different? We can go through all that together.
Wow.
And that's what I'm here for.
Nice, nice. Well, I appreciate you coming on, but I have to ask you one question before we go, especially for these individuals that don't know whether or not I want to build a community or I want to be a solopreneur, whatever the situation might be. And those of us, who wonder, like, would you rather choose three doors or a fork in the road, might have that type of idea. So, which one would you rather choose, a three doors or a fork in the road?
I got to go with fork in the road. After I sold my business, we went full time in our RV, and we did that so we could be outside, we're from Seattle, and it's like in the winter, you got to go to the gym or something, do exercise tapes, and I just don't dig that. So, um, I mean, I think of the fork of the road as what happened in my life over
Mm-hmm.
and over. Like, should I just keep writing for public, being a freelance writer and running my little blog for fun, or should I actually become a real online business owner
Mm.
myself? And then should I do it again, which was insane. And, I feel like I come to and we do a lot of hiking here out here on the donkey trails up in the hills behind the lake I'm at, and we come to lots of forks in there. We're like, "Oh, are we heading back now? Oh, what's that way? We don't even know." Oh. Um, and yeah, we're usually taking the one we haven't been on yet. I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, we haven't been over there. Oh, let's go check it out."
Hmm. I
I guess
think.
that
Hmm.
probably sums up my like, I don't know. I gather I'm missing kind of a fear gene that a lot of people have about putting themselves out there and trying things and stuff. And that's how my business happened, is that I was just like, I think of it more as a science experiment than,
Mm.
terrifying tightrope walk up in the air. I'm gonna fall and oh my God, people will think bad things about me. I don't know. I don't
Wow.
I don't care
Wow.
about that stuff. I'm curious.
That's what I
I'm
was
willing
going.
to
Yeah.
try things and see what will happen,
Yeah.
and that to me is the fork in the road. There could be anything behind that door. There could be like the Kraken, I'm not opening those doors. I don't know.
No, and I like that answer because a lot of us are not. We don't continue to explore our curiosity. We don't stay in a childlike state. Because in order for you to grow your business, in order for you to grow your community, no matter what the situation is, you have to stay curious. You have to stay or keep your imagination open, flowing, whatever it might be, some type of artistic vibe, whatever it might be, so you can continue to grow. And I don't care what industry it is. So I think that's part of the challenge that we've lost it in some cases. Because I know
Yeah,
that
just
I listen to.
give zero Fs about what people think about what you're doing. Honest, let me give you a shortcut to happiness. Just who cares,
Well, unfortunately, social media makes us care, quote unquote. We really care about what
One
people
of
have
my
to say.
mentors
Go
one of
ahead.
my mentors taught me, if you're not pissing some people off, you're not doing it right. You
That's right.
should, stand for something,
Right.
be for something. And some people will like it and some people won't. And that's how you magnetize the audience that wants to follow you. And you send away the people who are not right for you.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't do business online unless you're willing to have some people not like you. Some
Right.
people will not dig what you're into. And that's fine. So what?
And that's because, unfortunately, we build a business that we think it needs to encompass everybody. Unfortunately, we feel like, hey, we're going to do this, and it's that we build it, they will come mentality. But again, like you said, that's not for everybody. That's not how we find our audience.
There is almost no businesses for everybody,
Right.
except maybe Walmart, you know.
And that one's
But
even
most business models, you're looking to attract, unless you want that kind of retail footprint and pay that kind of rent.
right.
Most business models are looking to attract a particular type of person, and the rest
Yep.
of the people are not. This isn't your brand, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
That's life. that's
Right.
that's life in business.
Well, Carol, I appreciate you coming on. I can't. That's a mic drop for me. But I thank you very much for sharing today.
My pleasure.
And I want y'all to understand that this information that you have learned today, I just want you to go out and conquer the world with it. Like I said, Carol, she did a mic drop, so I don't even need to leave you anything today. She said, give 0 Fs, and that's it. And of course, y'all, I thank you very much for listening to That Will Nevr Work podcast, and I'll talk to you just a little bit later.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?